Hey, it's Jack. So I just bought a 1966 Mustang on an online auction, sight unseen. And I'm not a car guy. Most people would say it was a risky move, or at a minimum, not very smart. So you know what I did? I called the High 10 service in Coon Rapids and had my buddy Scott Schulte take a look at it. Everything is going to be fine. Scott and his team got it running and didn't break the bank to do it. You should take your car to High 10 service in Coon Rapids. They fix normal cars too, not just gorgeous classic cars like mine. Go to high10service.com and schedule your appointment online right now. That's high10service.com.
It's the Jack Tomczak Show.
Good afternoon, Twin Cities. Up and let's go. I'm Jack Tomczak. Welcome to the show. Thanks for listening. Today's guest, this is going to be an interesting one. I know almost nothing about. He was introduced by a friend, and he's got quite the story, I hope. Or I'll just pretend today never happened. Ramon Nicholson. Thanks for coming to the show, Ramon.
No problem. Happy to be here.
You're not running for anything.
No.
Because most people come on the show are running for something, but you are not.
No, I'm not running for anything.
You were in prison.
Yes, I was.
How long were you in prison?
15 years.
15 years. And what were you convicted of doing?
2 counts of felony assault of a police officer, 1 count of robbery, 1 count of failure to comply with a police officer, and fleeing and eluding.
All right. Did you do it?
No.
Now, I'm sure you told them at the beginning that you didn't do it, but you still served 15 years in prison.
Of course.
How long did it take for them to agree with you that you didn't do it?
It took about 12 years for them to finally agree with me that I didn't do it.
All right. So
But
you
it's-
served 15 years in prison for a list of crimes that you didn't commit.
Correct.
On behalf of society, sorry.
It's no big deal.
What do you mean
know,
it's
I
no
mean-
big deal?
I mean, you can't take it back. I can't go back in the past. You know, it happened. You just got to move forward.
All right. I'm going to get into how and why you're not incredibly angry about that, unless you are. But let's start at the beginning with the crimes that happened. How did they even think you did it? Start at the very beginning. Well, first off, where are you from?
I'm from Ohio, Toledo.
Okay.
Well,
How old are you now?
I'm 44.
All right, you got a year on me. When did you get out of prison?
2011.
11 years ago. You got out at 33. You served 15 years.
Mm-hmm.
That puts you right at 18.
Exactly.
Wow. All right. You're 18. What happened?
I'm basically homeless,
Okay.
but I never considered myself homeless because I had a lot of friends, so I would stay at your house for a couple of days, this person's house.
Sure.
But technically homeless. And I would just, stay at different friends' house, and that's just how I was living, I was in a bunch of foster homes. So, when you're 18, you pushed out of the foster homes right to the street, and, I was just living house to house. And, one day I just so happened to be at my, a good friend's house, and I stayed the night there. We stayed up all night hanging out, and the next morning I had to leave. So when I left, I walked out of his house. I got down the street not too far, and a police car pulled up to me and, asked me, where I was coming from.
Mm-hmm.
So I told them where I was coming from, and they asked me where I was going, and I was headed to another friend's house,
Okay.
and I told them, and they said that a crime had happened. They said, a robbery had happened last night, and they just want to verify, the description was a black male, younger black male. So, I, at the time I had no problem with talking to him. I
Mm-hmm.
thought, I know it wasn't me. So, of
Sure.
course,
That's what most people would do.
yeah, because especially when you didn't do nothing.
Yeah.
So I started speaking to him, and they asked me if they could take me down to the station, and I was like, I knew I didn't do nothing, but I was like, all right.
That's where most people would say no.
Yeah, but it doesn't matter if you say no.
Okay.
They're going to take you anyway,
Okay.
especially when they're, already. So I get down there, and when I get down there, they set me in the room, and, I was sitting there for a minute and I was just waiting. Like, I wish they hurry up so I can leave. And these detectives come in there and they start telling me about what happened. And it was, originally it was like the more they told me what happened, the more, I was sitting there excited. Like, I know it ain't me, so it's no big deal, And they said a robbery had happened at the mall. A guy got in the car, carjacked some people, took off on a high-speed chase, rammed through a police barricade or whatever, and all, and I was just listening, and because, at the time I had no idea I was going to be the guy, So I'm sitting there and I was like, well, I have proof of where I was at, here's the people whose house I was at, you can call them, whatnot, and yeah, it was a big deal, bigger than what I was thinking.
Was that your first run-in with the cops?
Yes.
Okay, because what those of us in suburban white America hear is that being stopped for driving while black or walking while black happens a lot, and if you're a young black man, you get harassed by the cops often. But for you, not the case. This was the first time.
Yep.
Well, no wonder you were so trusting.
Yeah, I never had, the police was never mean to me. They never mistreated me. I never had any run-ins with them, like that. So I honestly didn't think that, I was like, at the time, I was like most of the general public, I believed if the police picked you up, you did it. I believed in them. But once they, had me in the station and they started telling me about what happened and asked me about my whereabouts. Well, when I gave them my whereabouts and the people to call, they were saying that, they brought my friend's family, mom and dad, to the police station, and they were talking to them and they were telling them, if Ramon was with your son, that means your son was with him, and that means that he is part of this crime. And I'm pretty sure they wanted to stand up at first, but they didn't want their kid to go to jail or be associated with that. So they said I wasn't there.
Oh,
but they didn't have a choice, because if they would have said I was there, that means that Mike was going with me.
they had a difficult choice. They had a choice.
Yeah, they did.
But they had a difficult choice.
But it was a losing choice for them. I mean, so they, of course, I didn't have any money or anybody to stand behind me, so they gave me a public defender, and I always tell people, I said, I knew I was in trouble when the public defender guy came in, because he never asked me if I did it. He just came in and said, I'm going to get you the less time as possible. I was like, oh, man,
Did you tell the public
yeah, I
defender
told
that you
him.
didn't do it?
I said I didn't do it, but of course this guy, his name was
Heard
Adrian.
that before.
His name was Adrian Zimmerman, I knew for sure, the way that he was, you could just tell by his demeanor that I was like, no, I didn't do it. And, basically he told me then, it doesn't matter, you're the guy, and
That's nuts.
That's exactly what it was. He was telling 100% truth, he said, I can get you, the best thing I'm going to do is try not to get you 120 years,
Wow.
And he didn't. It ended up giving me 70. And,
Okay.
That sucked. It's very disheartening going to jail for something you didn't do. But the people that's charging you, they have the power to make you look guilty.
Yep.
I always tell people that one time I thought it was me, I said I was like, wow, But I would have never guessed, that I would have stayed in there that long.
So you're walking home from your friend's house, Mike's house.
Yep.
And you get stopped by a cop to ask you where you been and all that stuff. And then you go to the police station, and and then 15 years later you get out. Was 15. That moment walking down the street? That was your last moment as a free person?
That was the last person as a free person for 15 years.
And you probably had no idea. You had no idea at that time that was it.
Yeah, I would have never guessed.
Man.
I mean, you don't be knowing, I mean, I would have never guessed 15 years, though,
So you're confused. Well, you're helpful at first. Then you're confused.
Yep.
At what point were you angry?
When I was going back to the jail, the guys in the jail was telling me like, oh, you going to prison, the county people in the county jail, man. You know, they
Like
tell
the
you,
inmates or the
the inmates. They gonna tell you like it is. You know, even if you don't want to believe it. You know, so that's when I was angry. You know, but they also give you advice: do not lash out in court. You know, don't go in there yelling about your innocence, because the more you do that, the more it's going to make you look bad. So you know, you just got to sit there with that stupid look on your face that that is the look of somebody else see it and say, he's guilty. You see the way he's looking?
That's exactly it. Because if you sit there calm and accepting your fate, you look like a guilty person who's accepting your fate.
Either way, if you sit in there lashing out, you look guilty. Look at him. He can't even control himself. He had to do it. You know, so you're doomed, literally. And it's a sucky situation.
Did you go, and I'm not talking clinical terms here, but did you go crazy at all? Like,
yeah, of course.
I would have a hard time. Like, there's no options for you, and you're getting railroaded.
You go
I'd
crazy.
go nuts.
You go lose your mind, you know, and you go find it. But yeah, for surely, you know, it's a very hard situation, you know, and it's a mine. It's a mine for sure.
Mm-hmm.
That is for sure.
So what were those first few days? So wait, no, I'm back up. So you had a trial?
Yes.
You had a trial, and did the
guilty?
And did you have to plead guilty, or
yep.
you pled guilty to get a reduced sentence, even though you didn't do it? You knew you weren't guilty.
Right. You do the trial, but once you do the trial, you can stop it, because if you do the trial, once you finish it, it's 120 years. That's no choice, you know. And with 70, I mean, that ain't no different. I mean, it seems like a life sentence. But and then it just sucks. Like, I still can't believe the court system is run like this, you know. And I believe in the court system, you know.
I'm not sure I do.
But I can tell you this. It's the public, the regular people, you know, it's how they got our minds trained, because once you're in there, people are going to assume you're already guilty.
Well, they wouldn't have arrested you if you hadn't done it.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. And that's 50% of the win. You know, you halfway there. If you're sitting in there, you know, people assume you did something, even if you did nothing.
Throughout the trial, were you wearing an orange jumpsuit or prison clothes, whatever it was?
Because I didn't have nobody to buy me. I didn't have any money at all. You know,
that also makes you look guilty.
Right.
Well, clearly he's guilty. He's wearing the prison outfit. Yeah,
you have nothing. You know. And then you must remember, when you pick a juror, it's a strategic thing doing that. The prosecutor gets 6.
We're going to take a break. We're going to come back. We'll pick it up at jury selection. I'm talking with Ramon Nicholson, wrongly imprisoned for 15 years. Podcast, Radio Free BTC.
Bitcoin.
If you want a podcast about only Bitcoin. Download Radio Free BTC wherever podcasts are sold. Welcome back to the Jack Tomczak Show. I'm talking with Ramon Nicholson. A year older than me, wrongly imprisoned for 15 years. At 18 years old, is picked up by a cop who was just asking him some questions. And then one thing leads to another. He's represented by a public defender. He's in a trial where he pled guilty to avoid the trial, which would have resulted in a longer sentence. He ended up getting sentenced to 70 years. We left off talking jury selection. How does that work? Because most people listening to this show have never been in your shoes. Okay, nobody listening to this show has ever been in your shoes.
When you're picking a jury, the prosecutor gets to pick 6 people that he wants, and your lawyer gets to pick 6 people that he wants, and they throw a couple, alternates in there in case one of these people back out. But they ask certain questions, and the questions they ask is strategic, to know that person was going to vote their way, So, and and I'm just telling you from my point of view, to me, it's not a jury of your peers, or people, because none of them people was black, and I'm not just saying, but none of those people were in my age bracket. None of those people even lived in, nowhere I lived around,
If that jury had been filled with 12 young black men,
I'd have been
with your experience, you'd have been out for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
If it was filled with 45-year-old white women from the suburbs,
and that's what
they'd have executed you.
And that's exactly what happened.
Yeah.
You get your jury and, your lawyer tells you, it's not looking good for you, and, because like I said, when they come in there, the witnesses, there was no actual witnesses to the crime other than the police officer. 2 police, Tracy Kennard and Kaiser is the guy's last name, but I forget. But, and it was their word against mine.
Well, and you have to trust them. They're the police.
Of course, and you could not beat the police, When the police get up there and say you did something, the judge says, are you calling the police a liar? That right there lets you know that, okay, it's nothing I can do, And
this is 1995.
Yep.
So do they even have, they must have had cameras on cars, but it's not like,
even if they did,
it isn't what it is now.
Right, the police could do whatever they want. They could have, if they, I don't believe they did, but if they did, they could have said they lost the footage. They could say anything.
Sure. They can say anything.
It's not much you can do in that situation.
And the system is set up, and people are set up, their default is to trust the police.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's people's default. It's all of ours because, it's just
they're the good guys. Because 95% of the time they are the good guys.
Yep.
Yeah.
But and I always tell people that all police ain't bad. It's just a small select few. And that small select few, you can even see it right now, makes the whole department look bad.
Yeah.
And that's, I say that goes the same way for people like me, Every young black person ain't bad. We all ain't criminals. It may just be a small select few, but that's what you're highlighting.
Yeah.
That's what you're showing all the time. So it makes the rest of us look bad.
This is what I don't get about good cops. And I'm sure there are plenty of good cops who want the bad cops out. But good cops who protect bad cops, that's not helping the image of police. Like, you got to,
No.
and if you're in any organization you're in, if you've got bad apples in it, you got to get them out so everybody doesn't think your whole organization's rotten.
Exactly.
So do you think the cops lied?
Yes.
Or do you think they were just mistaken?
No, they wasn't mistaken. They lied.
Okay.
They knew. They lied. I would give them credit if I thought they made a mistake, but they knew outright. They didn't care. Everybody moves up when you convict a person,
Okay.
This officer gets to move up. The prosecutor gets a win under their belt. Everybody is moving up, off of the demise of you, and that's just how it works. People is, as humans, we're cruel to each other.
Yep.
We really are. We'll look for any reason to down one another. We'll look for the bad in people before good. I guess it's just how we work.
Yep.
You could see it on the internet. Anything that's negative gets more clicks than things that's positive.
I've got kids 10 and 7, and at some point along the way, I explained to them that monsters aren't real, and then at some point along the way, realized that I was lying to them, and that monsters are real. They just don't look like you think they look.
Right.
They look like people.
Like, that's right. We're humans.
And then I thought, I don't want to say that because, got any kids?
Yep.
Do you?
Yes, I do.
When did this happen?
I had a son. He's getting ready to be 10.
Okay, so that worked. That's after prison.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, you didn't miss anything there. My kid's 10.
Yeah.
So you didn't miss the boat on that, although parenting in your 20s, I think, is a lot easier because you've got more energy. After you got exonerated, were you? Yeah, you were exonerated,
yes,
right? They came out and said, "Hey, he didn't do it. We were wrong. We're sorry." Okay.
Well, but they trick you.
After you were exonerated, any contact with the officers who?
Nope, I never seen none of them again. I don't want to see them again. Them people is pieces of garbage. To me, you put somebody in jail.
Well, I would have shown up at their house and ended up back in prison. Is what would have happened if I were in your
but see,
shoes.
you can't hold a grudge because, man, going through that prison changed me. I say it was the best, worst thing that ever happened to me.
I say that about going to alcohol treatment, but going to prison for 15 years is way more difficult than going to drunk camp for 28 days.
But I wouldn't change none of it for one day.
Are you
I wouldn't,
serious?
Never. I learned. That's why I'm sitting here in front of you. If I didn't go through all of that, it was it was an experience that taught me a lot, about people, why we think the way we think, how, we're programmed, whether people, know it or not. Most of us, we're all programmed. Mm-hmm. And what I mean by that is everything you're told from your parents or your surroundings from when you're born until I say you're given the wheel at 18, meaning to make your own thoughts. And now it's up to you. But up until that point, everything you were told, everything basically you know about life came from somebody else telling you.
Absolutely.
Or watching the news, even if you were a kid who just, everything, all that stuff forms you and shapes your mind,
And at 18, when you get the wheel, all that stuff is still in you.
Yes, of course
you
it
get
is.
to make your own decisions, but you're greatly affected by what you were told, like how you see the world.
Exactly.
Everything is a result of all the input that's been put in for 18 years.
And exactly. And that's when it's on the person to go out and experience life, experience different whatever, to reform, to form your own opinion on your own, and I did that in prison. I learned a lot, about people, why we operate. I was in prison with the worst of the worst, so I would always, I talked a lot, so I would always ask people, who made you do it? Why'd you do it? It seemed like you had everything going great. What happened? And you find out every situation came from the way somebody thought.
Yeah.
Do you
have examples?
I have plenty of examples. You got guys, I'm just going to give you small ones, guys who rob stores, right? It just didn't happen. They thought about it first. They thought, I don't have any money. I'm going to rob a store.
That's where they have the money.
Right. Now, that same person, right, could have said, I don't have any money. I'm going to cut some grass or shovel some snow or do, anything, It's thousands of other things to do other than rob the store or sell drugs or, do something negative. But when you're programmed to think like that, that's where your thinking is going, rob the store. So now you go in the store to rob it and you end up shooting and killing somebody, You done took a person's life right along with your own, Now you sitting in prison thinking about the dumb decision you made. And now when you're thinking back on it, you think, I should have never robbed that store. I haven't,
Do people get to that point?
Oh, yes. You best believe a good majority of the prisoners do. It's very, I always say it is people in there that you will say, if you could do it over again, what would you do? They'd be like, I'll cut the head off and throw it down the toilet. Like, oh, okay, like that'd be the only thing.
You've learned nothing, okay.
Right, that's the only thing I'd change, I would have ran the neighbor over too, But that's rare,
okay.
But for the most part, even the hardest criminal, has regret, whether you believe it, but trust me, when you sit in them cells by yourself for all them hours, you going to have a whole lot of regret, and you going to find out that you're there because of you, the choices you made, unless you one of the people, who's there and you know damn well you didn't do nothing, but other than that, you learn it's the choices, it's your thinking, that's what, gets you to do dumb things. If you're not thinking right, if you don't think clearly, if you are a person who acts out immediately, you have a bad thought, you don't even think the thought through, Like, hey, man, you don't think robbing a store is a good idea, man? Like, they not even thinking about that part. They so focused on just robbing the store,
So in this example, the store robbery, if somebody took 3 minutes to think it through, would they still come up with the same thing?
No, but they don't.
Okay.
If they sat down and thought about it, if I rob the store, what's the most I'm going to get out of the store? $200? This is a convenience store here, Yeah. It's not like it's going to be a life-changing amount of money in there that I'm going to go rob this store and be like, you know what, I don't have to do anything else anymore.
I'm set.
Yeah.
I robbed this one corner store.
And there it is,
Living the high life.
Everything's all better, you don't think about that. You don't even think that the $200 I'm about to get out of here going to be spent in about 3 minutes.
Yep.
I'm going to be back broke.
Yep. Like, best case scenario, you're still broke tomorrow.
Yep.
Yeah.
But you got your most important thing, freedom.
Yep.
And people, your freedom is, there is no price that you could put on freedom. This is the reason that people jump border walls and walk thousands of miles to get here, because freedom is priceless, just imagine your freedom is so important. Somebody all the way in war parts of Africa that's not so friendly will somehow walk here.
That's right.
And that's amazing. That lets you know how serious. And guess what? People in prison, if you told them, we're going to cut off your arm and a leg, but we're going to let you be free, they'll be like, let's go.
They'd take it?
They'll take it. I'll take it.
All right, when we come back, I want to get into the programming part of this. I've read a book a few months ago, and I'm telling everybody about it, and this falls right in line with that. I'm talking with Ramon Nicholson, wrongly incarcerated for 15 years on the Jack Tomczak Show on AM 1280 The Patriot. Welcome back to the Jack Tomczak Show. I'm interviewing Ramon Nicholson, who was wrongly incarcerated for 15 years from the age of 18 to 33. He's been out 11 years, and we left off, Ramon, we were talking about the programming that puts people, that when they're in a situation to make a bad decision, they make that bad decision because they've been programmed poorly. I read a book called What Happened to You by Dr. Bruce Perry and Oprah, and it talks all about this and how kids get messed up and their wires get all tangled up, and that results in them being adults who make bad decisions, can't regulate themselves, and cause a lot of damage, and what needs to be done to untangle that. And everything that you've said falls right in line with that. For the person who makes the decision, I'm broke, I'm going to go rob that store, who programmed them?
Society.
Okay.
And the reason I say that is, so everything is programming. Radio, TV, your environment. So if you live in an environment, right, all day long, you mostly listening to music that's talking about robbing and selling drugs, right? This is the going thing, right, that you're listening to.
I mean, I don't, but yes.
But right, I'm just giving you an example. And this is what you're listening to. If everybody's around you, right? Not too many successful people. You got a lot of drug dealers. Everybody's in a gang, So what do? You program. You're going to join the gang. You're going to want to fit into your environment, So you're in a gang, you listening to rap music, that's enforcing, that's programming you whether you know it or not, because once you get to listening to that, you get to visualizing the lyrics in the rap song, you doing it, you being the best drug dealer, so you're programming yourself, you're watching other people, so you end up, making those bad choices, off of you being, programmed towards negativity, and you're being told, other people around, hey man, let's go get a job, and you think, I'm not going, go get a job for what? Ain't no white people gonna hire me. And you really feel like that, you really believe it, and as you believe, so it is, whether people,
That's true.
Believe that or not, you believe a certain way real hard, and you really believe in that's how you're going to be, and it'll stun your growth, you won't go out to try to get a job. You won't even give it a try because you feel like you're going to fail, so you just don't even try, even though you're 100% wrong, because there's 1,000 jobs out there and somebody's going to hire you if you're persistent, I promise. But if you could knock that away from a person to where they don't even go try, that, you got, the people programmed the way you want,
Yes. That's exactly how you ruin somebody.
Exactly.
Yep.
You got them programmed the way you want. You just, I always tell people, think about this. You listen to, have you ever heard any rap songs about killing white people? No, never. Have you ever heard any rap songs about raping people? No, because why? They won't let you put that out. But you can make a rap song about killing black people, selling drugs in an inner city, all you want. But you bet not. But have you ever heard of a rap that was all positive about getting jobs? No. You know why? Because they won't let you put that out. The people who run the record industry and all this stuff will tell you, nobody wants to hear nothing positive, only negative. If you're talking about shooting, killing, selling drugs, we'll make you go platinum. Anything under that, not here. And it's not. And why do they do that? Because they know it programs. When you listen to rap songs, you do be feeling like that. You'll go kill somebody or rob, because it's programming you. You know, you getting a feeling from it and everything. You know, the people around you, and you do negative. You know.
Where were your parents when you got arrested and?
I was in a foster home.
Oh, that's right. You told me that.
Yeah, I didn't even know my parents at the time.
Didn't even know your parents at the time. You know them now?
Yes, I know. Yeah, my dad for sure. My mom died while I was in prison.
I'm sorry to hear that. Did you know her? Like, did you find out after the fact?
Like, did I? What do you mean about my mom?
Like, when your mom died, did you know your mom died?
Yes,
yes,
okay. yes.
So you had become aware of her existence.
Of course, okay. I was aware of her existence for sure. Yeah.
So, given your upbringing and hopping around through the foster system, it's kind of amazing that you didn't do the crime you were accused of, because that's where a lot of people end up.
Yeah, for sure. Luckily,
and it sucks for you to be a good guy who got the bad consequences.
Even though I went through all those different foster homes, I learned a whole lot. You know, each house is different. You know, at your house you may be Catholic, then y'all go to Catholic services. At this house they may be Lutheran. At this house they may be 7 Day Adventist. You know, each house has their own rules, and each house, you know, is. You can feel it. You can when they send you to foster homes. Some of the houses you go to, you know good and well these ain't good people. You know, you can feel it. Like, these people, I have no idea how they're foster parents. You know, because from my experience, a good majority of the people that was taking in foster kids was only doing it for the money, for the the benefit purposes. You know, they didn't have no clear love for kids, you know, or to help or to change a person's life. You were just there, and they were just collecting a check from you, you know, while they were getting their bills paid. And then you have some that truly care, you know. And luckily, I got a chance to go to all. You know, I went to so many, because one thing, you know, if I didn't like a foster home that, you know, you get tagged as a runaway, it's kind of, and that's what I would do. You know, I mean, what I'm gonna stay at your house for? If I feel like I'm, you know, this house ain't good for me, I'm gonna run away. Yep. You know, it's better for me to just live in the street than it is to be at your house. Yep. You know, so I would run away, and once you get, you know, marked down as a runaway, the good parents don't really want to take you. Sure. You know, because it's like, even
though that's the decision that any good, rational person would make in that situation, right. They would get out.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You better get out. Some of them people is mean, man. So of course, you know, but you know, I lived with some good foster parents. They was real good to me, but they were moving to another state, and because I was a ward of the state, I could not go with them. You know, so that's about when my life started taking a turn for the worse. You know,
how old were you?
I was 14.
Okay.
And from that
how
point,
long had you been with that family?
7 years.
That's a long time.
Yeah, it was my house. I was stable.
And that at that age, from 7 to 14, like, those are important years.
Yeah,
they're all important years.
Yeah,
but those are really important years.
But that's what kind of, you know, shaped me. You know, I wasn't a, you know, like when I would go into the inner city, everybody, you know, would say I talked white, you know, and I didn't understand at the time. Like, I talk white. It was like, yeah, like, you could tell that you know, that you didn't grow up in the hood. You could just, you know, my demeanor was different. You know, I wasn't violent and nothing like that. You know, I was, you know, just like a comical person, easy to get along with. I can get along with anybody, you know.
Did you change it all once it was pointed out to you that you talked white, or you were different?
No, I've always been myself, you know. I mean, that's your opinion. I mean, I'm myself, you know. To me, I don't talk like nothing but myself, you know. So, but I think that's why everybody liked me, you know. I was funny, easy to get along with, you know, helpful.
Did you explain this to the judge? Look, I'm easy to get along with.
Well, I couldn't. You don't ever get a chance to say nothing to the judge, only at your sentence. And then at that point, what's the use of saying anything when you already, you know, is, hey, judge, please don't give me 1,000 years. I didn't do this, you know. And because in the judge mind, he still don't want to take it, you know. He still don't want to take ownership. So, 100 years because you didn't want to take ownership. Right. You know, it's better not to say, you know.
So at 14, your life takes a turn for the worse when your previous foster family, moves out of state, been with them for 7 years. When you say it takes a turn for the worse, what does that look like? What did that mean?
So they moved me into the inner city. You know, at the time I had only lived in the real nice. I stayed in the suburbs.
Okay.
I stayed out on River Road in Maumee. Big house on the river. It was a beautiful house. So I wasn't used to being in the city, you know. So now I'm in, you know, and these foster parents in the city, man, they single parents, you know. I thought the whole, you know, premise of a foster parent was a family, you know, a man and a wife, you know. You crazy. They'll send you to a single lady, you know, who got 5 other kids at her crib.
That's nuts. I'm a single parent. I got 2 kids and I'm overwhelmed.
Yeah.
You can't add more kids. If I had 5, I'd be nuts, and they would get the kids would not get a good childhood experience.
Yeah, that's what they, you know, that is like they protocol. You know, you with this lady, she got like 5 other people there, you know, and the other kids, you know, people that have been in this foster system, some of them hardened, some of them, you know, some of them do horrible things, like you said. You know, one of the guys I was in a foster home with, Johnny Jordan, killed his foster mother. You know, a lot of the kids I was with in the foster system, man, ended up in prison, man. Some of them did horrible things, like, you know, and, you know, I knew him, so I would think, man, Johnny ain't that bad of a person, but he killed a lady with a hatchet, you know, his foster mother, and that's horrific, you know.
Yeah. But how was he programmed?
Exactly.
Up to that
he
point?
was treated so horrifically, right, that, you know, he was only a kid, man. He didn't know how to control himself, you know, after everything he had been through. You know, you know, I'm not excusing what he did.
Right, but in an unreasonable actions are understandable in unreasonable circumstances. And yeah, I don't condone or agree with what he did, but who among us can say that we would have done anything differently?
Like you know, I think the problem that a lot of us have is we can't sympathize with people. You know, you have to be able to sympathize. I didn't say that what that person did was right, you know, but, you know, some people are like, I don't want to try to understand the mind of a murderer. Well, see, that's what I'm talking about. You know, sometimes you have to wonder what made this person do what they did.
Let's take a break. I'm talking with Ramon Nicholson, wrongfully imprisoned for 15 years. You're listening to the Jack Tomczak Show on AM 1280, The Patriot. Welcome back to the Jack Tomczak Show. I'm talking with Ramon Nicholson, wrongfully imprisoned for 15 years for crimes he did not commit. He was 18, got out when he was 33, and this happened in 1995. And we're talking about going through the foster system. And at 14, you left the family you had been living with for 7 years, moves out of state. They can't take you with them. And you're in a new foster home, went from the suburbs to the inner city. And I would think that 14 years old is the wrong time to abandon a young man and place him in the inner city.
Yeah, it's a perfectly wrong time.
Which gang did you join?
That was one thing I never did.
Wow, good for you.
Know,
because that's when young men join gangs.
See, I never joined the gangs, you know. All my friends was in gangs, but, you know, I never joined the gang.
Any pressure to?
No, not really. You know, people.
Why not?
Well, people they kind of knew that I was a kid from the suburbs. People knew who I was, you know, and I was like, I've always been a different person, you know. It's not, you'll never find another me. Mm-hmm. That's for sure. You know, I've always been my own person. You know, I've always done things, you know, my way on my own, you know, because I've been controlling my life, you know, for a long time, you know. So, you couldn't peer pressure me into joining a gang, you know. It didn't make no sense. Now, if they'd have said you made a lot of money doing it, I might have did it, you know. But
to be that person where people know that it's a waste of their time to try to influence you or pressure you, that's a great position to be in.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Like you're your own man, and everybody knows it.
Well, that's what got me through prison, you know. That's another place where you go. People go to prison and join gangs, or they join the Muslims, you know, or whatever. I joined none of that, you know. I don't knock them, you know. I don't knock your Muslims. I didn't knock the gangs or none of that. But, you know, I wasn't gonna join it. I knew that to be in prison, to be, if you wasn't in a gang or something, you had to be a vicious person, but you have to adapt to your environment. I could tell you that, And when I got to prison, I adapted to my environment. I understand how people worked, how to get through prison, So in prison I was well liked, from everybody, and that goes for the Aryan Brotherhoods, the Crips, Bloods, the folks, the white nationalists,
That's an amazing feat.
Well,
because the Aryan Brotherhood and the white nationalists organizations built on not liking people who look like you.
Now, I'm not trying to defend them.
Neither would I.
But I am going to say this.
I think they're racist idiots.
I'm going to say this. We so quick to call people racist. What if what these people believed in is just something you don't understand? Like white nationalists, they the ones they show you on TV are the ones that's ignorant, right? Okay. But like if they show you some Aryan Brotherhoods, it's some dumb ones, right? But all of them, they're not. If you think that they go by thinking of how they can destroy black people or Jews, you're mistaken. What they're worried about is their people, their race. And to me, there's nothing wrong with that. They have to worry. You always supposed to worry about self first and your people, and that's what they're worried about because they're programmed wrong. See, they're programmed to think that the blacks are going to take over, the Jews are going to take over, and they're going to be pushed out and their race is going to be wiped out. Mm-hmm. So they're fighting hard to make sure that their race and their people is not wiped out. Now, we may know that's not true, but these people are programmed to believe that. And once you're programmed like that, you act as such. They acting out of fear, because they want to stay, you ain't wiping me out, you would fight too, So I learned that from talking, in there with different Aryan Brotherhoods, white nationalists, as people, not, as a person, most of them ain't bad people, I'm telling you.
Sure. I can believe that.
Real nice people, Now, you may not like what they stand for, but nobody never goes in depth, with what they stand for. We always look at the negative, I understand, I ain't mad at them, I mean, you got the
you're an amazing person.
The Black Hebrew Israelites, they like a racist group too, because they, if you was to ask me, because they believe all white people and Jews is just, they just like the white nationalists, but black.
Sure.
So, and they out of what? Out of fear, Same way when you join in a gang. You join in it out of fear because you need protection or whatever, So you have to understand where people are coming from, And I had the luxury of learning that in prison, understanding, not to be quick to call somebody racist. That's such a degrading thing. It's such an easy thing to do to knock you away. Call you racist. Yeah. You're white. I could just say you're racist.
That's true. That's true. You can. I mean, I'm not a racist, but it is true that you can just. And nowadays, that's the worst thing you can say about somebody.
Right. But we use it as a weapon. It doesn't even. To me.
I am sticking with my white nationalists are racist, though.
Yeah. Know where a person's coming from first before you decide. That's what I try to do.
Were you like that like when you got into prison, or did you learn that along the way?
I learned that in prison. Yeah. Because let me tell you, and words only have an effect if you let them.
True.
Words don't have power until we give them power. And I'm gonna tell you a perfect example.
Okay.
So when I first got to prison, they got you all lined up. Whole bunch of us, damn near everybody in the line black. It's a few white dudes sprinkled in, but for the most part, we all black. But all the correctional officers is white. And they, so they was telling us like, bend over so they could look, they got to check you and everything. Everybody's naked. You got to bend over, lift your balls and all this stuff, right? And this one black dude, he wasn't on it. He was like, man, I ain't doing that. And his CO was saying, nigger, if you don't, and I thought, right when I heard him say nigger, like, oh shit, this whole line about to go crazy. And didn't nobody do shit. And I thought, wait a minute, this white man just said nigger, And didn't nobody go wild? Was, no, why?
Why?
The word doesn't affect you all of a sudden now, huh? Why doesn't it affect you? Because you're not letting it. Because if you was to turn around and hit this CO, you getting your ass kicked.
Mm-hmm.
So the word has no power over you. Use, man, because it's like, okay. That same way how you didn't do nothing, it could apply the same way on the street.
Yes,
that's what we call it, you could apply that same way. If a white dude call you a nigger, you could call him a hunky. Y'all could just go with words, You could call him a bitch. You don't have to, be offended. You could keep going. It only offends you if you let it. Other than that, this is America. I thought you can say whatever you want.
Yeah.
I ain't gonna let it affect me. It only affects you if you let it. And if you let it, then you actually gave that person power.
That's it. You and I grew up at a time where sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me. And in the last 10 years, that's not the case anymore. Now it's words are violence, which is insane because violence is violence. Words are words. All right, we'll take a break. We'll come back after the top of the hour. I'm talking with Ramon Nicholson, wrongly imprisoned for 15 years. You're listening to the Jack Tomczak Show on AM 1280 The Patriot.
Yeah, but that's true, man. I promise you. Words, when I seen that happen in prison, I thought, man, didn't nobody go wild?
Mm-hmm.
And this officer's name was Big Chew. He was a big-ass white dude, too, right? And he was there. He something, this dude was a good officer.
Okay.
You know why? Because he was there to try to get you to think. He would call you niggers and stuff like that to poke at you, But if you actually sat down and talked to him, he was trying to prepare you for if you ever got out. Hey,
really?
Man, don't. But most black people didn't want to talk to him because he was looked at as a racist, which is very easy. So if he's looked at as a racist, you don't want to hear nothing he got to say.
Yeah.
But actually, what he had to say was very important, and it was like,
How did you learn this? Did you strike up a conversation with him?
Of course, because, when I was in there, it was, they had rules, and when you first get there, I wasn't, accustomed to their rules, so of course I would break them into minor infractions to get you in trouble. So he would, tell me, Nicholson, if we tell you to line up at 12 o'clock exactly, have your ass in the line at 12 o'clock exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Don't be dragging yourself out your cell, all that kind of stuff, And one day he sat down and talked to me. He said, man, it was a guy yelling at me, and he was saying, you better know where you at. In here, you don't let somebody's words control you. You think about it, what the person's saying, and why they're saying it. You should do this in a millisecond. This person's yelling at me like this because they're angry. I know this. This we in prison. This person is frustrated. Some people don't know how to control them. They don't know how to control themselves. Some people only know violence. The way to act out. As soon as they get angry.
And violence and anger
go together.
Come from
program wrong.
Hurt.
That's right.
It's all hurt, Ramon. It all comes from hurt. It all comes from...
Oh, yeah, for sure. From being, like I said, programmed wrong, from feeling like that you've been done unjust or whatever it is. Of course.
Yeah.
But so like I learned, listen to what a person says. Words are powerful, even though you can say words don't hurt, they can. If a person, can. If people choose to.
Mm-hmm.
I know some women you can call them a bitch and it's no big deal. They don't care. But
I'm that guy.
Yep, but I know some women you'll call a bitch and they'll take that shit personal. They'll be hurt. Like, oh, my, it's like... It's...
Well, and it's... And I wasn't always, so enlightened. But once you understand that other people getting under your skin gives them power over you and removes your power over yourself, that's huge. And you just can't let other people control you by what they say to you or what they do to you. You got to be who you are, regardless of what other people think.
For sure.
Which isn't easy, but that's the way to not be angry at things.
it's as easy as you want it to be.
Okay.
It depends on how good your self-esteem is, how good you feel about yourself. If you feel like you have to do things to be accepted. Perfect example. All of a sudden, you got this COVID thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the weirdest things, people are shame you. You don't have a mask on. People would shame you about that, or try to, because they wanted you to do what they were doing. If you go anywhere you didn't have a mask on, some stores won't let you in.
Mm-hmm.
Some people won't even let you come to their house, because what? Fear of catching COVID, has driven this, So people, and it also gave people another reason not to like each other.
Right.
You hear it on the news. You come to this hospital and you ain't have your shot, you last to getting surgery or whatever they little gimmicks is they want to say, and it's like, what kind of sense? Yeah, if you don't have a COVID shot, you should be last, for this, and just to pressure you to take the shot, because that's what they want you to do. Other than you saying, "Hey, man, I thought this was America. We should all be free to make our own decisions." And it's clever people. Somebody will say, "You shouldn't be free to kill another person," and it's like, I'm not killing another person, and technically, you are free to kill another person, because what says that I, just can't pick up a gun and just go shoot somebody,
Right. There are consequences for that, but you certainly can do it.
Right.
Yeah.
But, you can't shame me, into conforming your way.
Mm-hmm.
If I want to take the shot, guess what? I'm going to take the shot. If I feel that my life is at risk, guess what? I'm going to do what I have to do to save my life.
Yeah.
But
me too. I won't do it to get $300 out of a liquor store.
Right. I don't need that. You're not going to pressure me or bribe me into doing something that I don't feel is good for me. As an adult, I know myself. I know my body. I consider myself to be fairly intelligent. So if I thought that it was that serious, that people were dropping dead left and right, of course I'm going to take it. You're not going to have to ask me to take it. I'm going to be at your place.
Yeah, the whole mask and vaccine thing would be a lot easier if people were like bleeding out of their eyeballs.
Yep.
Like, you bet, I'm in.
Yep.
I'm in.
I'm right here. Don't you worry.
But it's like elderly people and other unhealthy people
may
get super sick and may die, but most everybody else is going to be just fine. It's really hard to join the cult.
Consistency is good.
Yes.
What I mean by that is, when you first came out, and you said, if you take this vaccine, you're vaccinated, you can't spread it, you can't get it.
Right.
If you would have stuck with that, people would have felt better. But once you keep changing it, okay, now if you take this booster, you're okay for this third one. Okay, if you take this third one, you can still get it and spread it, but you won't die. It's like,
I need you to, when you get the shot, I need you to stand on one foot while it happens.
Yeah, it's like,
then it's gonna be twice
you
as
confuse
effective.
the hell out of me now. I don't understand.
Or at least from the get-go, be like, well, we think this is going to work. We don't know for sure, but we think it's going to work. So please, everybody, try it because we think it's going to work. And then later, if it turns out it didn't work, then you can say, okay.
We told you we think it was going to work.
It was like 80%, so now it looks like we've got to do this. But they came out with, do this, and everything's going to be fine.
Yep.
And then that wasn't the case. So, like, from a messaging point of view and a leadership point of view,
it was horrible.
How did we get to talking about COVID? But yeah, like the failure started at the top. And
the only reason I was talking about
down.
COVID was because I was showing you how it can control people's mind. Once again, you're being controlled, and it forms your thinking. It makes people think a different way. When they see a person that doesn't have a mask on, they're thinking, this person, they're thinking negative, about this person. When this could be a nice person you don't even know, but you've already formed your opinion, off of not having a mask.
Well, and it certainly makes people who are wearing a mask feel better. If the person not wearing a mask is bad, that must mean I'm good because I'm wearing the mask.
Yep, I am saving lives. I am doing what I was told. And
so what would you be like if you hadn't gone to prison?
I have no idea.
Yeah.
Like somebody asked me, I said I don't know because I went. What if I'd have told you I'd have been a billionaire? What difference would it make? Like if I wouldn't have went to prison, man, I was gonna come up with a thing, and I would have been a billionaire. But what difference would it make? It makes none.
From like a mental health standpoint, and I'm not licensed to practice mental health in this state. Like you seem like you know yourself. You're a fully formed human being who knows who he is. And that's rare. And I don't know if you would have gotten there without prison.
Yeah, I wouldn't have, and the reason I know that is because it happened and I'm here.
Yeah.
I always say it was the greatest, worst thing that ever happened to me. I learned a lot. I learned a lot about people, why people have done with some of the horrible things they've done, how their mind was thinking. I also know, I believe this. So when I was in prison, I told you, man, sometimes you got to act accordingly. So sometimes you got to do horrible things in there. But I had to do 3 years in solitary confinement, right?
Wow. What did you do? What did you do to get that? And then how did you endure that?
Well, in prison, you got to remember, when you go to prison, man, people think different. So when I was in prison, it just blew my mind that men would have sex with men. And I'm not against nobody. I'm not against no gays, but I'm just saying, if you've never seen it or experienced it, so I didn't, it was just a mind-blowing thing. Like, man, when guys are talking to you and you like, hey, man, watch when you talking to that guy, man, because he might want to have sex with you. You're like, hey, man, hold on. Hey, dog, I ain't gay. And this guy, he don't care. He still want to have sex with you. Hey, dog, just told you I ain't gay, But told you people get sick in the mind, especially in jail, right? So I had this bunkie, man, Quincy. I don't know what this cat was, He was in there telling me like, hey man, my wife coming back and this and it. Something was funny while he was telling me this. I was thinking like, man, so if you married, your wife could be in prison with you, I had no idea.
Does that happen?
No.
Okay.
He was talking about a man, but he was talking about a man like it was a woman. So if he was telling me like, yeah. So I was like, yeah, man. So another guy who also thought that other guy was his wife, he tells me, you got to kill your bunkie or we're going to kill you. And at the time, I didn't take it, I was like, hey, I said, hey, man, I don't know this cat like that. I don't have no beef with this man. But people they would tell you, hey, man, they for real.
So how did that play out? Because that's the situation. One of the many situations that would scare the heck out of me in prison is if you don't murder somebody, we're going to murder you. That's a tough position to be in. What happened? How did it play out? Did you do it?
You like living, right?
I do.
All right then. So do I.
Yep.
So I was like, well, I don't have no problem with this guy, but if it come down to the situation where it's him or me, then this ain't gonna be this is a no-brainer. I'm gonna kill Quincy. What else you want me to do? You for surely can't go tell the COs. What you gonna do? Walk up to a CO and tell them, hey man, once you do that, you are doomed in prison. You may as well. That is, literally committing suicide, or unless you decide to turn into a woman, because that's how they go start seeing you in there. Really.
So you got out of prison, so you didn't kill Quincy.
Nope.
And they didn't kill you.
No, but I stabbed
not?
him up because I stabbed him up pretty good where they thought
Really?
he was dead. Yeah, I had to. Shoot, he was a big dude too. I had to wait till he was asleep. Like there wasn't nothing personal against the guy, but I didn't have a choice, because they was like, well, if you're scared of him, wait till he go to sleep. But take this knife.
All right, we're going to take a very quick break, and then we're going to come back with stabbing Quincy and how that all went down. I'm talking with Ramon Nicholson, wrongly incarcerated for 15 years. You're listening to the Jack Tomczak Show on AM 1280, The Patriot.
Yeah, I had no problem with Quincy. I didn't know that man.
Welcome back to the Jack Tomczak Show. Talking with Ramon Nicholson. He was wrongfully incarcerated for 15 years. We left off with the night he stabbed Quincy, his bunkie, and people had come to you and said, you got to kill this guy or we're going to kill you. And they gave you the shiv. Do they call it a shiv?
Yep.
All right.
Or knife.
And you stabbed him. Did you think you were killing him?
Nah.
Was that the goal? Okay.
No. See, that's the thing though. See, in my soul, I didn't want to kill this man. So, I was stabbing him, yes, but in my spirit, I was like, I'm not trying to kill him, I'm just trying to hurt him enough to where they'll think that, yup, he tried, and that's exactly what I did, I mean, he was hurt, but he didn't die.
Did you talk to him afterward?
Nah, I ain't seen Quincy. Quincy scared of me ever since then. He probably
Okay.
he thought I was
I
crazy.
hope he doesn't listen to AM radio.
No, so but doing that, that's
So why weren't you, how did you get, were you charged with that? Or did they
see, in prison it was different back then. You see,
Okay.
back then you could kill your cellie and you only get 5 years in the hole.
What?
I mean, they had to change it, to charge you with outside cases because at first they wasn't. So it was brutal.
People were killing a lot of people.
Yeah, it was brutal in there. You just go into the hole.
Discount murder in prison.
Yeah, it was like, it was an ugly place, it was very violent, people, I mean, you're already doing life. I mean, what else can they do to you?
That's right.
You got to remember that, you in a place where, since my charges was against a police officer, I went to the worst prison,
Okay.
So most of these guys is in here for life, murder, none of them a good majority of them never getting out, so what do they have to lose? I mean, what could you threaten that person with?
Do the people who are never getting out, nothing to lose, do they evolve as human beings, or are they like, screw it, I'm here till I die, so I'm going to continue being
Yep, some
miserable?
are like that, some are, a good majority of them are like that, but it's always going to be a few that they really change themselves, but
because changing yourself will make the time you have left.
That's right, because
you
can do something constructive in prison, believe it or not. You really can. If you choose to, but most people don't choose to. So yeah.
You went to South after stabbing Quincy.
Yeah, they put you in a hole.
And what is the hole like?
You in a cell 24 hours a day, 23 hours a day. Here's a funny part. You really in there 24 hours a day, but they say 23 because they let you out the cell and put you in the cell next door, so they can say that they moved you for that hour. But
there's still a ceiling on
right?
it. You're not you're going outside.
You ain't going outside. Yeah, it's over with. You basically in a room all day by yourself. Do
you get to shower ever?
Yeah, you get to shower for that hour I told you.
Okay.
You get to come out for that 1 hour.
Do they give you books? Do they give
that's
you
the
anything
only
to do?
right. Now that's the part that saved me. So when you're in a hole, you have no TV, no radio. You got yourself. But the only thing that you can legally have is a book. But the catch to that is, this is so funny. So if you wanted this book, right, to get this book, the joy, you would need to know the author, the publisher, and the distributor.
Nobody knows that about the books they
Don't
read.
nobody know that stuff about the books. Like, how you know who the distributor is and who the publisher?
You have no idea.
But you can find out. So what happens is you get a book, and when you read it, at the back of the book, in the cover, it says the publisher and the author. And what you do is you're going to have to order all Danielle Steele books until you get one of her books with an ad in the back for another set of books.
Really?
Right. Or you will read all the Tom Clancy's books till you get a book with an ad in the back, with a book.
So, why was that a prison-specific rule?
Yes.
And they're just doing that to be jerks.
Man, they, because you can have any book. You can order out any book, They have to go find it, So that's why I honestly don't know why they make it like that, but that's the rule.
Because they're mean.
Right, that's the rule.
Because you could say, just give me any, I don't know, give me Western books or get me detective books. I mean, like mystery, there are ways to provide people books without being
right. Like they got they have a book cart, but there is no books with learning.
Okay.
It's just like
so from the book cart, could you get any book off that you want?
Yes, any book.
Okay.
But trust me, if you in there for any length of time, the book cart is only about this big, my dude. You done read every damn book on there. Because that's what's going to keep you going. Reading. And because you gonna learn a lot about yourself when you sit in them rooms by yourself, quiet. You will learn how long a minute is.
It's really long.
It is. We don't recognize it because we're out here free. Mm-hmm. But time.
My mom used to say, a minute sitting on a hot stove is way longer than a minute kissing a pretty girl.
That's right.
That is true.
a minute is a long time,
Yep.
you know. An hour is a very long time, but it just doesn't seem like it to us because we're not focused on it. You know, when you sit in the cell, you can focus on time. Even though you don't have a clock or nothing, time goes slow. You know.
So what'd you read?
Oh, man, I read more books than probably the average person. I mean, I sat in there for 3 years, you know. You read so many books, you start to think that you could be, you know, one of the people who critique books. You know,
Sure.
you like, you know, I didn't read enough books. You
If
know.
that's all you did for 3 years, you've read more books than anybody I know.
Oh yeah, I for sure did.
Yeah.
I already know that.
Yeah.
You know, I read a lot of books. You know, the one book you go want to read is religion,
Okay.
because while you're in there, you know, you're gonna be thinking about killing yourself. I
Sure.
promise.
How could you not?
You know, you're gonna be you're gonna weigh it. Okay, is it a God? Because if it is, I'm on my way. You know, you're gonna want to. You're gonna read. You're gonna want to know which religion is right. You know, and here's what you know. Every religion got their own.
Oh, have you figured it out? Everybody wants to know what's the right one.
Well, from what I've learned, every religion agrees that it's a God.
Okay.
The problem comes in the messenger. Jesus Christ, Muhammad, Buddha, the messengers that's supposed to come from God is where we have a problem, because the Christians are going to say the only way to go to heaven is through Jesus Christ. The Muslims are going to say the only way is through Muhammad. Every group is going to say the only way is through our guy.
Right.
You know, and that's what causes all of these wars, all of this stuff that's going on, because, you know, you want your guy to be right. But
Because if my guy's right, that means I'm a good person because I picked
or the
that
chosen
team.
one or
Yep.
whatever. But from what I've learned, every single one of those guys said, I'm just a man.
I'm not the guy.
Right.
It's the guy upstairs.
Yep. I'm just a man. I'm basically here to show you that if you have faith and you have belief in yourself, that you can do the same things I do. I'm no specialer than you. The only thing that separates me from you is my faith. You know, if you got the faith of a mustard seed, you can say to this mountain, be moved from here to there. Well, we know it ain't no mountains being moved because ain't nobody got the faith of a mustard seed yet. Now, some people, they may have a sliver of a mustard seed faith, which is enough to, you know, get them to do great things. You know, you ask somebody, how did you become a movie star? And they'll say, man, I slept in my car. And I slept in Hollywood in my car because I knew that I was going to make it. And I wasn't giving up. And they made it. That was their faith. You know, you will ask somebody, anybody that's seriously rich, you know, you could ask Mark Zuckerberg, you know, and they'll tell you, you know, when I was doing this, I knew I was going to make it. That's why I kept going. And I did whatever it took, you know, whether it was steal somebody else's idea, whatever it was, Bill Gates, all of them, you know. If you read their books, you know, they all cutthroated somebody.
Yeah.
Every single one of them, you know, they friends, best buddies, whatever, business partner, you know.
I've got no interest in doing that.
But I did this because I knew I was going to win, and that's what I did. That was their sliver of faith, you know.
Yeah.
And you know, I'm not mad at that. You know, people do whatever they have to do to get themselves. Now, some people say, well, that's cruel and this and this. Well, you know, if you had the same faith, maybe you would be in the same position. You know, I mean, I'm not one to be able to talk and say what this person has did is wrong or right. You know, I mean, morally, probably what he did was horrible, but, you know, he got himself there, you know.
I decided long ago that I have to live with myself. So I have limits as far as what I'll do to get where I think I need to go.
But see, if you think you don't need to go that way, then you won't. You know,
That's true.
it's all about your thoughts, you know, not about other people. You know, when you meet, as I was saying, you know, with the messengers, you know, Jesus Christ, he was trying to show you can get robbers, to get the worst people, all his disciples, find the worst criminals and turn them good, you know. It's all about your thinking and your, you know. So, but one thing from the religious thing, from all the different messengers, I learned that, well, God is in everybody.
Okay.
And the way I can prove this is every book agrees that in the beginning it was Adam and Eve, but God blew his breath from God to Adam to start life. And as long as that breath is still living, that means God is in every single human.
Okay.
You know, that breath only dies if every human on the planet died. As long as there's one person living to carry on that breath of God, God is in everybody. It's in you, you know, and it's up to you, you know, if you want to bring it out, you know. It's up to us, you know. God is in all of us. That's why we're living. You know, some of us do horrible things, you know, once again, by choice, you know, no matter what it is. You'll say, well, none of us know why things happen, you know, but what I think we can focus on is just ourself. And,
that's
you
true.
know, I told myself, well, God is in me. I'm going to get out of prison and I'm going to be great. And sure enough, I did.
More with Ramon Nicholson. After the break, Ramon was in prison, wrongfully incarcerated for 15 years. You're listening to the Jack Tomczak Show on AM 1280, The Patriot.
Everything I've done, I just
Hang on. Welcome back to the Jack Tomczak Show, talking with Ramon Nicholson, wrongly incarcerated for 15 years, released in 2011. This is the Jack Tomczak Show on AM 1280, The Patriot. We were talking books, we were talking religion, we were talking your 3 years in solitary confinement.
Yeah, so like I said, when you're in there, you're going to wonder if it's a God, you know. So you're going to read, you know, every religious book, you know, and you're going to dissect them. I mean, you literally, you can put all your focus into that because you have nothing else to focus on, you know. So because you're also thinking, you know, if I kill myself, you know, what's going to happen? You know, what's next?
Can you kill yourself in solitary confinement?
Yeah, you can.
There's plenty of stuff in there.
Yeah, you can hang yourself. You got a sheet. You can hang yourself from the bars, you know. Now, but the thing is, let me finish. So I read, you know, I've read all of that, and I started reading a lot of self-help books and things like that, and but it still gets to you, you know, loneliness, you know, being alone, you know, that stuff wears on you, you know. So one day I tried to kill myself, you know, but know this, deep in my soul, I didn't want to die. I only wanted to felt like that because I was in that room. If I would have been a free person, would I have thought killing myself? Fuck no. Yeah. The only reason I felt like that is because at the time I was in that room and I wanted out, you know. So I didn't truly want to die. It was just a call for attention, you know. But I tried to kill myself, ended up putting myself into a coma because so when I woke up, I was in the hospital and I was like, holy crap, I ain't dead, you know.
And I'm out of the room.
Right. I'm in a hospital, you know. And so once you try to kill yourself, from that point on, you're on suicide watch, which from my opinion, there's no way you killing yourself on suicide watch. Okay. I mean, I don't know how you could possibly do it. I mean, they give you a bulletproof. So once you try to kill yourself, you're on suicide watch. You don't get any clothes anymore because if you get clothes, you could, you know, they give you what we call the bulletproof vest. It's like it's a smock, and it's made out of this material that you can not pick apart. Okay. And I'm telling you, you know, you have nothing else to do. You have hours, 24 hours in one day to try to pick. You can't, you know. There's no way you could hang yourself with this thing, anything. You just, and a light's on 24 hours a day. Your cell door is made out of glass so everybody can see you. There is, you know, so you have to sit through that humiliating stuff. You know, use the bathroom, somebody's watching you, everything. There is no more privacy, you know. And
but from solitary confinement to no privacy, was that a good thing?
Yeah, it wasn't bad because you got to see people.
Yeah.
You know, the nurses go by, you get to see a little traffic. All that stuff is good for your mental, believe it or not. Just seeing another human on a regular basis, you know, and hearing, you know.
I don't prefer people. And then the pandemic happens, and seeing people is happening less and less. And I noticed, and I got kids, you know, it's like there's no people. But I went a little nutty, seeing fewer people than I normally do. And to go down to 0 people that you see.
Yes.
That's
It's very hard.
You'll
yes.
like not just go a little crazy. Like that's severe mental problems.
Yeah, well, you get the chance, so because of that, you talk to a panel of mental health experts, and so I had to do that, and I talked to them, and they would all, be like, well, Ramon, you're an extraordinary person, man. We're not, they didn't keep me on suicide watch, because once I explained everything to them, they, if you were reasonable, you gonna understand, and they did, these are.
You tell them, well, I've been in this
Yes.
cell by myself for
on.
years, and
Yeah.
that's why I tried to kill myself. They would understand that, wouldn't they?
Of course,
Yeah.
Especially when you tell them,
And I'm innocent. Did I mention that?
right, and they like, but once you talk to them, they understand. They make you do a slew of different tests, aptitude tests. They want to test. They want to see what your IQ is. They want to test everything. You do the blocks.
Mm-hmm.
So many different tests, that they gonna make you run through. But I passed the test with flying colors because they was like, hey, we don't. He doesn't fit, the criteria.
Did they put you back in solitary confinement then?
Yep.
Yeah, you should have
And I
failed the test, Ramon.
No, it was fine because I, at that time I only had 6 more months left, so I was like, 6 months ain't shit though. After you've been there.
I suppose comparatively.
Yeah, that's nothing. You can, you could just sit there and knock that out. I mean, it is a long time, but when you programmed or you've been in there, it doesn't seem like, it's not like I got 5 months left. No big deal. Let's go.
So, how far into your 15 years? When did the 3-year solitary confinement happen?
About a year and a half in.
You were brand new.
Yep.
All right. So then you had 10 years after that.
Yep.
I'm sure you did not want to go back to solitary confinement, so there was no more roommate stabbing.
No, that's the thing. You get, once again, you can get used to that. As crazy as that sounds, right? Like where it doesn't, because that's the only threat they have in prison for you.
Sure.
But once that's not a threat anymore, because that's what keeps the chaos from happening in prison.
Mm-hmm.
If you take that away, it'd just be, it'd be hell in there.
Yeah.
But you can't get to a point to where it doesn't bother you, to where where it's like I'm gonna speak because the correction officers don't like you cursing and stuff, and it's like. Once I got out of there, I said, I don't care. I'm gonna speak the way I want to speak. I'm gonna be me. If somebody don't like it, or if it's a correctional officer I don't like, I'm gonna tell them. I don't like you. I don't give a fuck about you putting me in the hole. That ain't because the hole for this is what 10 days.
That's nothing.
Nothing.
Yeah.
At the worst, 10 days, and I'll go do 10 days and then come right back out and see you again and call you another bitch and go, for real.
Yeah.
And I got. To be like that, where it was just, I wasn't caring anymore about what you thought or, I was just making myself being me,
So at what point, walk me through the exoneration process. At what point did you start it? Did an outside person start it?
Yep. So it was a guy in there, and he used to do everybody's court work. So he originally started it.
An inmate?
Yeah.
Okay.
And but he had connections to the Innocent Project. He had connections to a lot of people on the outside, and he got somebody to pick up my case. And of course you're excited because somebody's finally saying that, hey, we see where they lied at. We can see, we looked at this, we looked at that, and we know that you're innocent. When you're in prison, you be thinking that because of that you're gonna be getting out like right away or.
This will be cleared up in a week and a half.
Yeah,
I'll go home.
as soon as they go to the courthouse, man, how they gonna do it? They gonna tell them, and then got a couple more days in here.
Yeah, goodness. Super Bowl's coming up. I'd like to see that.
Yeah, that's not how it works. They can know you innocent for years. The thing is, nobody likes to admit they wrong.
Right.
Especially in the criminal justice system, a prosecutor can know you 100% innocent, and they will still say. He's guilty. They don't care because that's going to take away one of their convictions.
Well, and if they made a mistake, that means they're no longer the good guy. They're the bad guy.
Right. And then it's going to if you made one mistake, how many other ones did you make? So they're never going to admit to not one mistake. Even if they know for 100% fact you didn't do it. It's still rare. The judge may say you didn't. you know. But the prosecutor's still going to fight and say, yeah, you know, even though this witness was this, or whatever, you know, they're still going to say that I stand by my conviction. You know, he was guilty. He was, well, we got camera that he was on the moon. Well, he may have looked like he was on the moon, but let me tell you, he did this. And that's what takes so long, you know. And like I said, from the time that they said, yeah, he should be out of there, still took almost 4 years.
What?
3 years, yeah. Because courts run slow backwards. You got to remember. The justice system works seems fast forward when they convicting you and all that, but when they want to undo it, it's you got to remember you have to get in line, and that, you know, okay, your next court date is in 18 months, you know.
And this is after.
Yeah, even after that, it goes.
They knew.
That,
Who's
this,
they? Like the court had
system,
said we made a mistake.
Yep. It could be, and this goes for anybody that's wrongly convicted in this country. You know, they may have known that this person was innocent for. You know, they may have said, all right, this person's back in court, but it still took 6 years to get him out.
That's insane.
That's just how it works.
That
you know?
Shouldn't work that way.
Of course it shouldn't, but, you know, I told you the prosecutor's going to fight, you know, and you got to remember it's a whole bunch of people waiting to see the Supreme Court, you know. So if it has to go up that far, you know, you got some years to wait. That's just how it works. That's just American court system. That's just how it is. So, yeah, you just don't get out right then and there. That is very rare. I'm not saying that it's never happened, but it's rare.
Forgive my ignorance, were any of the people who prosecuted you involved in the exoneration? Like, did this go through the same judge at all, or did the same prosecutor
Nope, it was
get an opinion on this, or they all moved on?
The prosecutor was still there. Her name is Julia Bates. She should still be the head prosecutor. And
I'm gonna call her tomorrow.
Yeah, Julia, you got a list of motherfuckers I asked her about, boy. She still got my buddy in there, man, Bub in there. She know that man didn't do that, and they still got him in there 20 years. You know that.
What Bub do, or what Bub didn't do?
Man, listen, so once again, a guy who was at home with his family, but because he was with his family, your family can't testify because they say your family go lie for you.
Right.
And they said he murdered a kid, you know. And a dude that was about like 14 years old, but at the time,
even for the parents of that kid, they should want the person who really did it.
Of course they do. They you can look it up on the website. They want him out too, but that don't matter. Yeah, they know that doesn't matter. Even if the victim's family say this person didn't do it, it's up to the prosecutor. And if the prosecutor, you know, is not willing to let it go, then that's just what it is, man. You got to know how much power they got.
All right, we're talking about his exoneration. Ramon Nicholson, wrongfully incarcerated for 15 years. You're listening to the Jack Tomczak Show on AM 1280, The Patriot.
Yeah, Bub's still doing.
Welcome back to the Jack Tomczak Show. I'm Jack Tomczak, talking with Ramon Nicholson about his wrongful incarceration and his exoneration, and the prosecutor, Julia Bates, who should let Bub out because he was convicted of killing a 14-year-old, and even the victim's family says he didn't do it, and she's Julia Bates is dragging her feet. What'd you do? Walk me through the day you got out. What was that like?
So they said you was getting out. They said, Nicholson, you know, you getting out. And I thought, you know, like, holy shit, like, where am I going to go? I know that's crazy. You know, I've been in here, like, I don't even know anybody anymore in the free world, you know. So you go, you know, everybody's happy that you're getting out, you know, because people, you know, especially in prison, they happy to see you go, you know, and you get to the gates and they say, all right, Mr. Nicholson, you're out of here. But to get out of here, you got to sign.
Here.
Here, right? And of course, you don't read it. And one of those,
agreed to not sue somebody.
That's right. One of those papers you signed say nobody's at fault. You know, it was nobody's at fault. It was just a mistake. Nobody owes you anything, you know. But you can get on with your life, you know. And
so at that point, though, are you still an inmate? I mean, can an inmate sign a contract?
Well,
I'm not.
That's what I was going to. That's what we going to court for.
Good.
In a way, yeah, because no matter what, you know, you still supposed to read whatever you sign. You know, there is no law that says, you know, even though you could say that, hey, man, I was under a tremendous amount of pressure. I wanted to get out of there. You know, I could have signed my body parts away. Could have said, oh, yeah, that third one you signed says you also owe us your kidney.
Right. You're coming back next week for, to have your kidneys be harvested.
Right, to have this surgery because we need one of your kidneys, you know. You don't read it because, you know, you want to get out of there, you know, and the way you feeling at the time is, I would have hurry up and sign this before they change their mind, you know. Yeah. I don't want to be. So.
Have you, like, the reason you're here is that we know people, the same people in politics and public policy. Are you on the criminal justice reform plan? Like, are you going to do something about this? Like, one thing you could, like, one reform that could happen is not having that form available when people leave prison. Yeah, it might not help you, but it'll help the next guy.
Well,
because if the government takes away years of your life, they should have to pay you.
Yeah, but they're going to say, but that's what you're missing. It's not the government. They're going to say it was your city. You know,
not city's government. They should pay you then. There should be something.
Yeah, it should be. You dang on. But who's going to? The reason that people don't get behind criminal justice is because who's going to get behind? You know, yeah, this guy was wrongfully convicted and all that, but you still got this prosecutor saying he's guilty. She still has whatever her evidence is in her way. There's always going to be people who believe you're guilty and people who believe you're innocent. You're not going to be able to get around that. It's rarely that you ever go find a person that's everybody feels that they're innocent. You know, it's always oh, he did it. He just this whatever. You know, so it's very hard to get people to get behind you. You know, because. Now, it may be a little different now, and the reason I say that is because of Trump. Okay. You know, it may be a little different, you know, because they showed you out in the open how they prosecuted Trump, you know. They made him, you know, luckily, you know, they couldn't put him in jail, but anybody who was around him, you know, they struck him down, you know. Roger Stone, you know, all these guys, you know, and you will see you automatically believe that when the FBI gets on a person that they're guilty because you'll say
it's the FBI.
It's the FBI.
They're the good guys.
I mean, they know. I mean, if the FBI say you did it, you did it. I mean, they do their research, and you will be believing that. You know, so and you believe in that because that's you know everybody around you feels like that.
Yep.
Now you believe that until they pick you up.
Right.
And then they say that you did something, and then you're trying to say, hey, hold on, I didn't do it, you know, and it doesn't matter. They can ruin you. Yep. You know, we have to.
Everybody believes the newspaper until they're the subject of a newspaper story. Then they see, oh, wait, they get it wrong half the time. Everybody loves the cops until they're the ones who get picked up. Yes.
I'm going to give you a perfect example. You might know this story. It's a guy, he was working with the RNC. His name is Anton Lanzero.
Yep.
Okay, so they picked this guy up and they said he was child sex trafficking, right? Okay. Well, I know he wasn't child sex trafficking. That was dirty that they did him like that. But you must remember, this is a guy that has money. He has a name in the community, right? So what is the best way to knock him down? You couldn't knock him down and say he did a robbery or that he did, you know, you couldn't knock him down with none of the crimes that you can get me with. But you can say he's a child sex trafficker because who can get behind him? Nobody.
That's true.
You know. That's the best thing to get. You know, the best thing if you want to get somebody that's rich that they do now is say that they was child sex trafficking, you know, and they can, bam, and guess what? That is a hard one to beat, you know. It's like, hey, man, I'm not a child sex trafficker. But they told you a part of a story that made it sound like he was guilty. You know, they said he recruited a girl from college, from University of St. Thomas and had her recruiting and all this stuff. And if you don't listen to the story closely, you would think that he was guilty. But they said he was messing with juveniles, right? And it's like, how many juveniles do you know that's in college? Is it enough of them to send a girl there to recruit them? No. You know, they just made all this up to get this guy out the way. And when you break it down and you look, they want to know where did he get his money from? You know, how did he get his money, you know? And
do you know? Because I've always wondered where he got his money.
Yeah, he works. He had the hottest online NFTs. You know, he was always in the marketing online. You know,
Okay.
he's a guy that's from California. You know, his buddies, you know, they was all online guys, and that's how he made his money. You know, Anton was. Let me tell you something. I worked with Anton. He's a really nice person. You know, and I said, well, everything happens for a reason. I said, when I told him I was in prison for something I didn't do, you know, he was always a nice guy to me. You know, and I said, man, I hate that it has to happen to him for whatever reason. You know, I mean. They took all this stuff to make it look bad. You know, we confiscated his money, his cars, and that makes it look bad, right? But then they don't tell you that they had to give it all back, you know.
Okay.
And but he's sitting in jail fighting for his freedom, you know, knowing that he didn't do nothing, you know. But nobody's perfect, you know.
True.
Nobody's perfect. But that man don't deserve to be in jail for that, you know, and they know it. But it's not much that he can do because, like I said, once the FBI gets on you and they build a case and they say you did something, 98%. Why do you think they have a 98% conviction rate? Isn't that amazing? So you people are never wrong.
So I got to admit, I did not see this taking the Anton Lazaro turn, but we got a minute left. What's next for you?
What's next for me? Well, right now, I'm gonna be starting a new job, and I want to get into politics, but it just seems like that stuff is a dirty game.
Can be.
It can be. It is. It's a very dirty game. I mean, politics. Look how they did Trump. I mean, anybody that's in the politics, it's a very hard game to get in. But I believe that the truth always wins. I believe that. You know, in the end, the truth always wins. The trick is, sometimes it takes a while, you know, but the truth go win.
That's true. Thank you, Ramon Nicholson. Fantastic story. I'm so glad that you came on here and told me and the listeners. We'll have you back, I guarantee it. Listeners, thank you for listening to the Jack Tomczak Show on AM 1280, The Patriot.